Well, hello and welcome. I did not take the fucking not looking at our faces thing.
You didn't take the fucking looking at our faces thing?
Yeah, I didn't do
Damn.
that.
You didn't take
Hello
the fucking
and
looking at our
welcome
faces
to
thing.
Dragon Coffee.
Hello and welcome.
We are happy to kind of be doing our own thing on our own channel.
Hello
Now
and welcome.
here and starting up Dragon Coffee again in a very refined way from what we did before, where we are just just talking in general, and then we'll just talk about certain things that we're excited about. So there you go, simple as that.
Exactly.
For right now, I'm just gonna keep D&D Beyond up there, and I'm gonna start fidgeting because it's very easy to fidget. We have our coffee in front of us. Maybe when we get original with our coffee ideas, and maybe
Might
want
have
to
a
make.
mug or something.
I mean, yeah, we could make a mug, a dragon coffee mug.
And then dragon flavored coffee as well. Whatever that tastes like, maybe.
I think someone's already done that, but that does not matter.
Yes,
We can make our own.
exactly.
It's still their brand. No, we will not. I don't know if that's a thing.
Yeah.
I actually don't know if that's a thing. We'll have to look at that.
No,
look at
thievery
that,
is a
though.
thing. It's always been a thing. I mean, we
I
are
don't want a
rogues.
thievery.
We are rogues, though, after all.
I'm not a rogue.
I'm a rogue, after all.
I have multi-class.
I'm a rogue.
No, I'm a ranger and I can just hide.
You can't just hide.
Yeah, it's in my kit.
No, it's not.
I don't know why
I
it is,
took
but
it
I'm
out.
here.
I took it out. I took it out.
No, you can't
You
do
got. I
that.
deleted it.
You can't do that.
I can do whatever I want to.
So, for those who haven't seen this is probably the first episode that's going to be up. My name's Caleb. This is Prince.
Prince Ramasan,
We're just a couple of D&D GMs that have been DMing for a while, for like a few years at this
just
point.
a little while.
Yeah.
Not to brag or anything, because there's nothing to brag about.
There's really nothing to brag about.
There's really
here.
nothing to brag about at all.
It's just the fact that we enjoy DMing Dungeons and Dragons. We do have a channel where we have most of our recordings and previous playthroughs, but that's not what this channel is about.
Exactly.
If you're ever interested in that you can always see that on our main page where you can check that out. Beyond the point, we're here to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. We're talking about some of the news that has been coming out. We'll also talk about some different things and different aspects of Dungeons and Dragons that we want to talk about on this podcast. We'll probably we want to do different segments, and with that comes testing and figuring out exactly what makes whatever our podcast is our podcast, and that'll be really fun. There's a lot of things that we plan on doing today. We'll have an RPG horror section where RPG horror stories is a Reddit, or at least a subreddit, where where people in the tabletop community post really bad horror stories, and we'll have a little segment for that. There'll be portions where we take some of the stuff from the full podcast, which you are currently viewing, and separating them out into different videos and kind of just separating it out. Or if you're just interested in this portion of the content, boom, you can have that. So we'll be doing RPG horror stories. D&D news is something that we're always going to be talking about because things come out every single day. We'll do a monster spotlight, an NPC creation spotlight, where we just kind of work on creating NPCs. If you want to see our creation method and how we decide to create different things, we can do that as well. We're doing a character creation section, but we don't know exactly how we're going to navigate the waters of that because there's so much that goes into character creation. We might just stick to backstory because that's what we, as people, kind of strive in.
Yeah.
We like
We'll
creating the stories of characters, but we'll figure it out piece by piece. It'll be fun. Okay. I don't know where to start. Where do you want to start? Or unless you, how are you? First of all,
I'm good.
you're good.
Yeah.
Everything all right today?
Got that dragon coffee in my system.
Mm-hmm.
It's flowing through me.
I am pretty excited that we've started this back up. It is nice. I probably put that in front of the camera. Beyond the point.
Yes.
Once we get used to doing this again, I'm not even going to be thinking about the camera.
Yeah.
But until then, that's all I'm going to be thinking about.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been so long since we've done this.
What, the millennia at least? Let us start with
What do you want to talk about?
let's start with a monster spotlight.
You want to do a monster spotlight.
Let us start.
So how do you want?
monster
How do you want to do
spotlight.
this? Eventually,
We'll go from A to
my-
A to Z right now.
Is that what we're gonna do?
Right, I guess so. Why the fuck not? Right, we start with the aberrations.
Aberrations.
No, not like A to Z monster. Like,
Well, I
no,
think
that'll be too much.
Well, weirdly enough, we can actually easily find this on D&D Beyond.
Exactly what I was thinking.
This is why I have D&D Beyond in front of me. This is not a sponsorship by any means. This is just our easy-to-use tool for everything in D&D.
I would just go to the collection section,
It's not in the collection section.
and then it would be all day love.
It's not the collection section because that's
Yeah, you browse
viewing.
monster.
No. You know why?
Yes.
Because it's homebrew.
Well, then you go to the official button, browse official content.
Fuck, that is a shortcut.
Yep.
Damn it.
I
It's
mean, that's
almost
what I
like you're a
always
DM too.
So that's what I always do.
I always go to tools,
Oh,
and they have a very easy way to look it up that way
and
too.
then we just click aberrations on the upper part.
Oh, so we're doing aberrations.
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about starting from
No.
because I'm just like I don't know if I want
That
to
would
do
be
that
way
one.
too much.
Because I already know which one is A
Exactly.
that we start with and which
Yeah.
is Aarakocra.
Aarakocra,
And I'm
yeah.
like, I don't want to do Aarakocra
We don't,
first.
we're not doing that.
Not for our first podcast. Or at least our reboot podcast for Dragon Coffee.
Yeah, we just pick something from this list, essentially speaking.
Do we want to go high level or low level? We'll start by narrowing some things down.
Let's highlight a lower
CR creature?
Yeah. Something that people don't really look at too much.
We're not doing CR zeros because they don't even exist pretty much. Let's go with something from the Gazer has always been a good one.
Yeah.
It is definitely still in the Beholder category, but you know what? I've said Gazer. We're gonna go Gazer. Our
Gazer.
spotlight today will be Gazer. Let's first look at the pronunciation that Matt Mercer or Marisha Ray have decided to give the word Gazer, just in case
Whichever one.
for some reason we have mispronounced Gazer. But I always love doing this because it's fun to hear their voices.
Gazer.
Okay, Marisha Ray said Gazer. So
Yep.
the official name for this is Gazer.
Gazer.
Okay, so before we look into the the stat block of what a gazer is,
the
we'll look at some of the
description.
description of it. A gazer is a tiny manifestation of the dreams of a beholder. It resembles the beholder who dreams it into existence, but its body is only 8 inches wide and has only 4 eye stalks. We would have to know what a beholder is first before we do that, because I'm sure there are some people who will be looking at is the coffee different?
What?
Well, what's up?
No, it's good.
Okay,
It's fine.
cool. You were looking at it. Sorry.
Reaction.
Yeah, it's all good. Do we want to look at what a beholder is first? 'Cause I'm sure there's going to be people here that are actually looking at D&D for the first time. I'm not saying that there is or isn't,
I
but
can
there
give a
might be.
brief description of what a beholder is.
Or we can just spotlight beholder instead.
That's up to you.
I don't know. This is the first one, right?
So we spotlight in beholder or the gazer then?
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
We'll just go with gazer. We'll just kind of like look at the small things of what a beholder is. All right, for our brief description of what a beholder is, they're aberrations. They're like one of the most iconic D&D monsters because everyone loves them. They have many eye stalks, and these many eye stalks can do a whole bunch of variety of different things. The DM can either decide what those little random rays do, or the mechanics that are built in, you roll to figure out what the random things that this does. But the beholders are able to create. They're so powerful, I think, mental-wise, or like their brain, right?
Yeah, it's
they're able to
essentially-
create shit.
They're able to create things just by using their minds. It could be intentional, but most of the time it's accidental. It could be spawned from nightmares, spawned from dreams. They are the dream lords without being the dream lords.
Yeah, half the
everything
time they're
they're
not even
doing
thinking
is an
about it.
accident. They're very coveted too, as well. They have many fears and insecurities. Surprisingly, they are very emotionally driven creatures.
They're humanoid in a sense. But that's beyond the point. That's what, before we get too heavy into what a beholder is, because I'm sure that would have been great. We're doing gazer. We decided
Exactly.
gazer. these things, these little tiny creatures that are gazers, resemble beholders, who dreamed it into existence. But its body is only 8 inches wide, and it has only 4 eye stalks. So it has little eye stalks that don't do near as much, or even like anywhere close to what a beholder is.
It essentially doesn't want to, be as. The beholder didn't want to be as strong as it, so I mean.
Yeah, it's just like it's like a little boy. It's almost like they're babies essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Except they don't grow. I don't think gazers grow. I think they just remain the size of what a gazer is. But then again, I haven't really looked into the details.
Yeah, that's all they do. But you can say that this thing eventually grows into a full beholder.
It's depending on what the beholder did, because
Exactly.
that's what the cool thing about what beholders are. They kind of just create things, and it's their manifestation of what their creation is,
exactly.
which also allows DMs to kind of create whatever they feel like that the beholder that the party is currently dealing with is dealing with, and that's what I like with certain monsters. A lot of monsters you can do this, but this is half the reason why a lot of people like beholders, because you can kind of do anything you want with them.
They're extremely customizable.
Exactly. I'll continue with this. It follows its creator like a devoted, aggressive puppy. And sometimes small packs of these creatures patrol their master's lair for vermin to kill and lone creatures to harass. A gazer can't speak any languages but can approximate words and sentences it hears, mimicking them in high-pitched, mocking manners.
See, I didn't even know that part.
So they're little fucking...
It's not in the stat block.
No.
So,
I'm glad they've updated descriptions
exactly.
since we've done this. We haven't done this in like a year and a half or two. So now looking at descriptions, we're actually going to get actual descriptions now.
We had no clue that they had mimicry. There was nothing that said it. And,
Now we know.
Exactly.
Literally, some beholders with wizard minions insisted they take a gazer as a familiar because the beholders can see through the eyes of these creatures. So basically, they're saying that some could use and abuse the power of maybe a beholder if they want to like ally with it, maybe.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, it's also, gazers weren't originally even variant familiars either. This is also a new thing.
Yep.
That came with the...
I don't remember where it came
most
from.
likely the multiverse.
Could have been. A wild gazer is territorial. It eats bugs and little animals and is known for playing with its food.
The
Ew.
fact that it goes from bugs to animals is crazy. It's like your diet can consist of bugs, tiny little mealworms and crickets and cockroaches.
They're like little fucking lion cubs.
They're kind of like
I love how my brain immediately went Lion King.
well, like if we're talking about Simba, he was trained to eat bugs.
He was trained to eat bugs and little animals.
He was trained to survive off of the bugs.
Yeah, mostly the bugs. Yeah. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Didn't know that.
A gazer might follow the folk in its territory, noisily mimicking their speech and generally being a nuisance until they leave the area, but it flees if confronted by something it can't kill. Okay, so they're little assholes.
Yep.
That's literally built into their stat block, that they're little jerks.
Like, they don't want to fuck with you if you look tougher than it won't mess with you. Yeah, it's basically a little...
But if it's like, oh, you guys if you guys are level 1, they go, I'm gonna follow you. I'm going to annoy you. It's like a little brother.
Because essentially speaking, like the interesting thing is that this thing could be like in a ventilation system.
Yeah.
Just following you around, just going the whole time, just to being a little butthead.
Little shithead, yeah.
I like them. I like them.
Yeah, this is definitely we have our styles, and
Mm-hmm.
this is something that is definitely more his style. But I love gazers. I think they're really cool.
They're not cute, but they're really cool.
It's a cool idea. Anything that's really attached to a beholder is cool in my eyes. So even if it's just a manifestation.
I also didn't even know that they were considered tiny.
Oh yeah, these things are little. They're like this.
I didn't know
they're like rat size.
Like little meatballs, little fucking gigantic meatballs. I always thought they were small, at least.
Like meatball.
Meatball.
Gazer. So looking at the stat block, it has an armor class of 13. Its hit points are 3d4 plus 6. But the thing is most people use base hit points when it comes to stuff. I'm one of those
Mm-hmm.
DMs that kind of like the roll because it gives diversity when it comes to fighting monsters, and it's not predictable. Oh, that was too easy. Oh, that wasn't too hard. I don't know. As a DM, you can kind of determine what you want with that. It has mimicry, which we have discussed what mimicry is. But for those who don't know, stat block wise, the gazer can mimic simple sounds of speech it has heard in any language. A creature that hears the sound can tell they are imitations with a successful DC 10 insight check.
Insight.
It has a basic bite attack that does 1 piercing damage.
Epic.
It literally says it does 1 piercing damage. You don't even roll for it.
Yep. No.
It has its eye rays, which technically are kind of unique because I don't think beholders have frost rays.
I don't think so either. They might not have a need for a frost ray.
No, they have many
They
things
have a
that are way better
disintegration
than
ray,
that.
so I mean, why fuck frosting them? Disintegrate them.
These little fuckers have dazing ray, fear ray, frost ray, and telekinetic ray. I know telekinetic and fear are things that come with a beholder. So, the targeted creature must succeed on a DC 12. Wisdom saving throw will be frightened. That's fear. Telekinetic is literally telekinesis. Frost is a frost damage attack, and then dazing ray can. Wisdom saving throw will be charmed until the start of the gazer's turn. Well, the target is charged in this way that its speed is halved and has disadvantage on attack rolls. So it's just a confusing ray. It's just trying to confuse you, and you start doing weird shit because it confused you.
I think the other ones actually have confuse ray, like the actual confuse.
Oh, they do.
The spell.
I believe they do too, but I could be.
It's like a lesser version.
Yeah,
essentially.
I don't remember. I know most of them because I've used enough beholders at this point against you guys that I know a decent amount of them. The ones that really stand out. You know what I mean?
Disintegration ray.
And they also have a bonus action that they can move up to its speed towards a hostile creature that it can see. So these little monstrosities can be really good minions for a level 1 party that you plan on using maybe a BBG beholder or maybe like a little art for a beholder. These things are typically they were created for essentially using these to be used as minions. Or, like they said, they've added it for wizards or any character that can have a familiar. They can actually use these creatures as familiars.
Yeah, this can definitely hint towards what can be upcoming, though, as well. Who employed the gazer? Was it a beholder? Was it a wizard, like you're saying? Or was it some other nefarious creatures?
One of the most notable gazers that we know are the ones that were in Xanathar's guild.
Mm-hmm. Sewer gazers.
They were sewer gazers that were in Waterdeep Dragon Heist. That's the first thing that came up to my mind. And his character ended up getting one as a familiar.
Meatball.
So that was a thing. But that's the one that's notable to me. Gazers are interesting.
And yeah, once again, like that wasn't a thing really. Like when that thing had came out, it was like
it just made sense for us.
It really does. They're tiny little things. Like they're easily tameable. They're not too smart. They're not bright. So they just want food. You just give them food and they like you.
Literally. Yep, that's what a gazer is. What we'll do also for you guys is we'll put a little scenario where you could use gazers. Let's create an encounter using the gazers.
So we can either do a structured one or we can actually since we can just cut this up. We can just actually sit here and do one. We're just a small mini encounter, not like a full-fledged encounter.
Yes, it's just a little mini encounter, like something you would come across in a dungeon.
Exactly.
So, let's say here, using a gazer, you're walking. We'll do the scenario. You're walking through this new cave that came through in the Sword Coasts. One of the guilds nearby realized that this place has been unexplored and has sent you and your party. You guys are currently level 1, began your adventures. Sent you and your party towards this location.
Yeah.
You start walking through, and the first room you come across is
a bunch of slow-moving people. They're all trying to get out because something has apparently frozen their legs, and they're trying incredibly to get out, but they're moving so slow that they can barely even escape at this point, as they're crawling on the floor, wounded, hurt, and they're telling you that a meatball was chasing them, a meatball with eyes. So of course you must investigate this meatball with eyes, and for newer players who haven't ever heard of a gazer or a beholder, it's definitely like a odd thing to even hear for the first time. There's like what a meatball with eyes, like dude, this is like, what could that be? And it was floating, hovering, and it was 6 of them.
Yeah, I mean the thing about it too is like what we can do with these things is like, I think most of the time I'm going to be structuring these towards beginner players because I think a lot of times, especially with podcasts and just content in general, it's typically geared towards people who are already interested in the game. But there's not many things that allow new players to really strive.
Yeah, more veteran players. Veteran players know what every monster in the monster manual and all the expanded ones.
My coworker can literally name every single one.
That's what I'm saying. Like I also
like, he said it's to the point where his fucking DM pays him like $2 to not ruin an encounter because he can't stop talking about it.
God.
That's what he told me.
Oh
like I'm not
God.
prying. He told me that.
Oh
I'm just like, oh, that sounds like a wonderful time to play with you.
Yeah, right. Literally. That's once again why we come up with
unique characters.
But
that's a different thing. We'll have a homebrew section. Like I said, we'll be trying a lot of different things for you guys. A whole plethora worth of content. But even then, just like we've done this so long where I can literally just kind of like throw him a fastball and he can just kind of hit it out of the park or hit a line drive or hit something, and then we can kind of build off of each other. We played D&D long enough together. We're already close enough friends where it's very easy for us to build off of that. But that's beyond the point. That's the encounter. You just see the meatball. It's aggressive. It's already on aggro, and you roll for initiative.
Or the things that there could just be like, since we can use the traits that they have, now that we found out they can mimic things, that's actually pretty interesting. And I did notice that actually in their stat block. I never really looked at it because I never really looked at the gazer like that. I guess.
Well, I think the multiverse added.
They probably added that, yeah. But either way, you can have it mimicking them throughout most of the dungeon, just leading them
towards
into different areas. Rooms,
which is a great idea.
Yeah, literally, because newer players aren't going to know what to do after that. They hear this meatball thing. What the fuck we do after that? They hear someone crying for help. Help me! Help me! They go into that room to investigate, finding nothing.
And then just the meatball who's ready to attack.
Yep. And he's like hiding underneath like a blanket or something like that.
That's a fun little add-on to a dungeon that wasn't already there before. And the thing is that like you can easily do They attack you. These bandits are aggressive and they want your money. We'll get into that when we actually look into some horror stories, which is I think going to be our next segment because I really want to get into that because it's just super fun doing that for me. That's one of my favorite things, and having that being a part of this new experience for us and for you guys, I think will be really fun. So yeah, that'll be our little monster spotlight. We'll create a little encounter for you guys. I think for now, I like the idea of using these smaller monsters to kind of like you guys could potentially use some of the ideas that we were just spouting from our brains to kind of like enhance your own dungeons.
And honestly, once again, like if you're going back to early newer people stuff and all that good things, gazers could be a deadly encounter for them.
That's
because of the fact that it's a random chance that you can just frost ray them, or to death. And it could become an interesting encounter for them where they're afraid of these tiny little creatures running around, zapping them with their freaking eyeballs. And I never seen an adventure start off with the gazer and did it successfully or anything like that.
moving on to our next little segment of the podcast, we'll be looking at DM horror stories. By the way, you're going to hear some thunder now.
Yay,
ambiance. We are in the tropical state of Florida,
It's just
where
ambiance.
this just kind of fucking happens, and it only happens for like 3 seconds and then stops. We get hurricane winds for like 5 seconds and 5 minutes.
5 hours.
Or 5 hours. And then nothing. It's a good thing I came inside at this point, because I went outside and did what I had to do before I had to deal with that crap. Because literally didn't even show that it was going to rain. It just started.
Yep, it is a flash flood.
Florida is a great place.
Yes, it is.
Okay. We'll look at our top story of this day at the moment. We have DMPC has Holy Avenger at level 2. We kill him and take it for ourselves. DM quits. Okay, so before we even get into a story, I will explain what RPG horror stories are. It's RPG horror stories is a subreddit. RPG horror stories is a subreddit where you are able to post your horror stories or that guy stories or terrible experiences in the D&D or tabletop community and share that with others. So that's what we're going to be looking at. We'll be talking about these stories real quick and then kind of going from there. Move my coffee this way. So like I said, DMPC has a Holy Avenger at level 2. We kill him and take it for ourselves. DM quits. Horror from all sides of that culminate in everybody losing. In our first session, we almost TPK from goblins. At the end of that session, we level up and arrive at the town where a paladin NPC joins us. The DM says, "I'll help you out since it looks like you're having a rough time." Our next mission is to infiltrate a zombie bandit hideout under an abandoned mansion. At first, it looks like another near TPK with the bandits hitting pretty hard. But then the DMPC pulls out his holy sword and smites everyone inside. OOC, I know this is the Holy Avenger. I have a talk about how OP this is for level 2. And the DM says, "Well, do you want the help or not?" As expected, the DMPC Paladin shines every fight, and we feel like backup dancers. This keeps on going until level 3, where we're all annoyed at this point. During the night, we plot to steal the sword. We stab him in his sleep, and the DM says, "PvP is not allowed. You can't murder hobo your ally and steal his sword." I don't want to continue DMing for you guys.
I can once again see both sides of that story.
I can.
Why are you just stabbing this guy? Why are they just killing him? They could have went about that way different.
They could have just stole the sword.
They could have just stole the sword.
And not killed the guy.
And not killed him. I can, like, that's just like,
That's a lot, dude. Regardless, I don't think there's really much to this story in general besides the fact
it was
that
very
like,
simple. Like
everyone's the asshole here.
Yeah,
even
literally.
though like we're not doing I am the asshole, but
yeah,
everyone's kind of a jerk here. Granted, the DM clearly doesn't feel like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
There's some cool things here. I like the idea of a zombie bandit hideout.
That sounds fun.
That sounds really fun.
But if you are talking about like what level?
I don't know if they told us
Level
the
3.
Oh, level 2.
Yeah. Okay. So they're fighting zombies. Level 2.
That seems normal. A little.
It
normal.
depends. If they're intelligent zombies, that's actually kind of hard.
It depends on what kind of zombies he's using.
If he's using regular zombies, they can just keep coming back using their unrelenting death.
It's hard anyway.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard no matter what. Low levels, everything's hard.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
I mean,
there's
but
not
even-
really much to this story, in
Yeah.
all honesty. It's just, okay, everyone sucks here. And it just feels like everyone just didn't know what
Should
to do.
he have given him a holy adventure? Clearly not. You can have a DM NPC and just help them out. Why are you giving them a holy avenger? And why are you guys stabbing the guy? He helps you out. This guy came risking his life to help you guys out, and you're just like, yeah. He's like bleeding out, just like, what the fuck is happening? What is going on? What did I do? You have a holy avenger. We're the bad guys. It's just, like, imagine that in a real life scenario.
That's a terrible.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
it's,
Well, you don't have to. That story was silly, and I didn't like it very much because no one wins.
no one wins at all.
All right, so this one is DM brought players' actual dead brother into the game as a ghost. This happened a few years ago in high school. A senior of mine asked me if I wanted to play D&D, and I said yes. There was me and 5 other guys on the table, including the DM. The DM wasn't the most socially mature person. He often tried to appear smarter and had an attitude of we're better than everyone else because we played D&D to the point where it became really cringy at times. He really hated us making jokes or doing goofy stuff at the table. To him, D&D was the best way to tell and experience stories, according to him. To his credit, he did come up with a really big world with a lot of different stories. Most of them really anime-like, but still enjoyable for the rest of us.
Okay.
One of the guys at our table, John, had to leave the game for a few months. It says a few months here, but it's a few months.
Yeah, exactly.
His big brother had passed away in a car accident, whom he was really close with. We kept in touch with him, though, and offered support however we could. After 2 months, he started coming back to school. The DM decided to continue our old campaign with most of the focus being on John's character, and him being the spotlight, though none of us minded that. In the second session, the DM had us explore ruins where John's character's ancestors used to live. Then we met a ghost who looked exactly like John's brother and had the same name and even told us about how much he loved his family and little brother. John left the table without saying anything, and the rest of us didn't know what to say. The DM didn't know his brother, had never met him, but somehow thought it was a good idea to include him 2 months after his death. We all apologized to John and asked the DM to apologize, but he couldn't see what he had done wrong. He later sent a message to John saying how he was thinking this would help provide him closure. We all stopped playing after that, and I only recently started playing D&D on Discord. Well, that's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate because I can see how the DM was trying to do a good thing here, but you have to talk to people, man. This is where this guy fails. He did not communicate with his party or his team. He wanted to surprise his friend who had recently lost someone very close to him with something that could trigger some sort of PTSD for him at the moment.
He had a good heart going into it. It wasn't malicious from what they said, but he went about it the wrong way.
Yeah. The intent was there, but you can't just spring things on people for the sake of, I have to make a good story and I want to emotionally draw something from this guy. There's ways to do that without, drawing on real life. Or if you plan on doing that, this is one of the rare occasions you have to talk to people. There is a thing in the community where you talk about what could potentially trigger you before you play the game.
But I mean, that was kind of a
new
big
thing.
In general, that was kind of like it's also high school.
Yeah, I get that.
You also have to look at it like that. It's also high school.
It is high school, and no one's really thinking about others in high school.
And not only that, once again, they said this person wasn't socially mature.
No. Clearly, I can tell. I see this guy already.
Oh, yeah.
And the way that he DMs, like, he clearly isn't a bad DM, otherwise I wouldn't continue to play with him. But the way that he went about it was very inappropriate. You shouldn't use real life stuff, especially if it's fresh. And if you do plan on doing that, you need to talk to people. Communicate with your party.
Like, mainly the one who's dealing with anything.
Yeah. Communicate to the person you plan on fucking with. Even though you're not really fucking with them, you know what I mean. We'll do one more, and we'll be good. I think that's enough of that one. That's a sad one. This one's gonna be good for you. First paid DMing gig doesn't get past session 0. Trigger warning. Nondescript mentions of R.A.
Rapi.
Was that someone?
Yeah.
People are squealing out there.
I mean, they're outside. I mean,
Get inside.
It's a storm. What do you think?
I think school's actually getting out.
Probably.
Damn.
Yeah,
So,
don't go to school.
without really saying it on the channel or just in general, you know what we mean here. Some very inappropriate things. Okay, so I've been sitting on this story for about a month, but after encouragement from some other professional dungeon masters, here I am. Learning lessons from the garbage pail of life so you don't have to. This happened approximately 2 months ago. I was in a Discord server for a local game store when someone reached out in the general chat to ask if there were any DMs in the area that would like to run a game at a tattoo shop in the area. Them's my people, I thought. This would be fun, I thought. You fool, you ignorant fool. So I reached out, and after some back and forth discussions and a few links to games I streamed for reference on my actual play channel, we agree that it'll be a bi-weekly game for 5 people at the business after hours. For very new players, but I honestly love teaching the game, so I saw it as a super fun opportunity, especially since I haven't played at an actual table since the onset of COVID. Red flag number 1. 2 weeks later, when they finally got around to adding me to the group chat with 11 other people after voicing my inability to juggle that many people and some hemming and hawing, we agreed that we would limit it to 6 with some rotating bodies and plan a session 0. I requested they let me know what time works best for them so that they wouldn't be busy tattooing, working, etc., as I don't want to interrupt the flow and also have them be able to provide the attention necessary for a first-time player to really hammer on what's going on. I arrive there. There are 2 players who are still tattooing, with others waiting to go. Of the initial 11, only 3 show up. We ended up talking for 10 minutes after I sat there doing nothing for 2 hours. One player made a character, and everyone decided they wanted to go to the bar or go home and split with the agreement. We'd figure out the rest over text. Believe it or not, it only got worse. The only player with experience texted in the group chat asking if he could play a ranger because I don't want to abide by a moral compass. Also, I want to be a cannibal. Weird, but okay. I informed the entire group, you can do what you want within reason, but keep in mind that this is a living world and it will react to your actions as such. Crickets. Cricket, 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 cricket. 2 hours later, the next text comes through. Okay, but if I play a cannibal who only eats bad guys, also I want to R-word them. You could put that together. I hit them with a disheartening LOL no. But he doubles down. This is a legitimate idea, and others start sounding off about how hilarious this campaign is going to be.
What do you mean hilarious?
I nope the hell out. Last week, I get a text from the initial person who organized this whole thing asking why I haven't answered in the group chat in 2 weeks. I informed him after the exchange I actually left the group, and they should try to find an alternative DM. He lets me know it's not a big deal, and they'll finish the characters this week. 6 weeks later, and we can't find a time to play. Maybe go F yourselves instead. Thus ends my pro DMing career. At least I have a story.
I don't even understand.
That was random.
And it's the fact that they all thought it was hilarious. It's
toxic masculinity.
That's not even that. That's
a lot.
That just says to what they do in their real lives, what they want to do in their real lives.
Well, it's a hint of like some dark sexual shit.
Exactly.
And
that's the thing of like I would be terrified to be in the same room as you, and all of you who are into whatever the hell that is. That's horrifying. Like you guys are into this and you think it's funny. That's funny. That's not even where you can go with that.
That's weird.
Yo, dude, like, what is that conversation? Yo, did you see what I just did to that person? Number 1, I ate them. And then number 2, I did things to them that no one should ever do. And ate them.
I want to die.
That's just...
That's some messed up stuff.
Yeah.
You should never, ever, and I know that they're already a group of friends. You should never casually talk about stuff like this.
And things that there's
It's
11 of them
horrible.
that are perfectly fine with that. That's a lot of people
Well,
that think
yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah,
That's a lot of people.
That's crazy. It's weird because it's like weird guy culture thing as well, where it's just like a whole bunch of when you get that's why I meant toxic masculinity, in a sense where it's like when you get a group of people, because I mean we're dudes, we've been a part of different things where people start saying random shit and they start laughing, and then for some reason you feel like the need to start laughing as well, even though you shouldn't be laughing at this. I've never done that, but I've seen it plenty of times. I mean, and even as a teenager, you realize, okay, well, I don't like being around these people. I'm going to stop hanging out with them.
Yep, no, but these guys are like, yeah, this is cool.
Well, they're adults, and they're clearly adults that are capable of thinking, okay, this is fine. It's never okay to talk about violating someone in such a horrible way.
And eating them.
Yeah, that is a random one.
Eating them.
Why are we just going to add that to it? You know what? I have to come up with a creative idea, and it has to be so outlandish that my friends laugh. That's stupid.
Like, there was face jerky. But then there's completely devouring them whole. That's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. It's pretty rough. That's a rough one. That's going to be a no for me, dog. It's going to be a no for me, dog. All right, I think that's that's a good place for us to stop our little segment on RPG horror stories. That's a rough one right there. Okay, welcome back to the podcast portion of this. Like we just went over a whole bunch of
That was nuts.
D&D stuff.
That was nuts. Go ahead and
if
check
you're
it out.
interested in it, it'll be on our YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
It won't be included on the podcast because it is very long.
Mm-hmm.
But there'll be a lot of content of us talking about what we saw. What we'll do here on the podcast is we'll talk about our brief. Our what we thought about 1D&D so far since we've actually looked at it. Like I said, if you're interested in our actual first time reactions, it'll be on the channel as well.
Yay.
But this is what I'm thinking so far. This is my honest feedback. I think it's fantastic at the moment. I think it's going in the right direction with including starting with race. I think they're including them not really changing much about drow, but also including the fact that you can do whatever the hell you want, and also expanding that to every other race possible, of allowing it to be like, okay, they did this consistently. This is what we've established so far in our world. But these are examples of ways that you can do it differently when it comes to your world.
You can
so
literally
stop
have them
doing this
do
thing
you can have them do
where
whatever
it's
you
just, okay, this is all they are, and this is how it is. Because that's how it's always been.
Drows are evil. Drows are evil. You're
That's
evil
just one
drow.
example. They did that with everything, right? They did it with orcs. They did it with everything that's been controversial, quote unquote, in the D&D world, which I still don't really view it as controversial.
They're definitely
but I
changing
can
the
understand.
perspective of what an orc is now too, as well, with the new lore that they have added. I mean,
The tieflings are going to be very different.
oh yeah, they're not tieflings anymore. They're otherworldly beings.
They've expanded it to the point where you can make it whatever you want. You can make them ordinary tieflings, or not necessarily ordinary,
The
but
standard
what we're
tieflings.
used to,
Exactly.
or these different options.
These hellish-looking tieflings where you have horns and tusks and you have spines growing down your back, and you literally look like a Monster Manual demon.
Which I love.
Yeah.
There's this thing called, I believe, they're not called Archons. I know that.
The
I'm trying to-
Artelins?
The Artelings, right?
Yeah.
Artelings are a new race that they're looking to introduce and also include in the player's handbook, which come from the Beastlands, mostly the upper planes, because they're expanding it just to the upper planes. But they've included the Beastlands heavily in this race by attaching animal-like features to them.
Oh, so now
in
that I'm thinking
every
about
way.
it, so remember we were talking about Archons in Wednesday campaign. Archons do take on forms of beast-like creatures, so
Yeah.
I guess that's kind of where they're drawing their inspiration from. Archons exist, we just don't have them in the monster manual anymore.
They might be looking to change that.
Yeah.
Because them talking about it and including things from what they were talking that they've included in previous lore from long ago, and looking to introduce. It shows that they're with this new edition, they're looking to encompass, I think, everything. They're like, we need to figure out. We need to figure out a way.
Yeah.
To include our lore in a way that doesn't overwhelm everyone.
Exactly.
And I think that's the biggest hump they have to go over it. But I think it's fantastic that they're starting to look at that and look at trying to see what they can do to get over that hump. Get over the hump of complications of so many checks, 3 different character sheets, and one of the sheets being a whole bunch of different skill checks. And not only having a check for everything, trying to figure out exactly what those checks even mean in the context of what we're doing at the moment. Okay, so they've included rules in this in this new system that allow dungeons to be dungeons every once in a while by allowing them the monster attacks not really to inhibit their rest.
Yeah, by changing the short rest feature, you can now get a hours-long rest for it to consider a short rest.
Exactly.
And so now, once again, us as DMs, we can now send out a dungeon and make it feel like, I don't know, a dungeon, and not just feel like we're trapping you guys for the sake of trapping you.
Exactly. I think it's I can now feel comfortable making a dungeon be more of a dungeon. Not to say that I wasn't able to do it before, but there's some things that with 5th edition we've always felt like we've had to held back on because of the rule sets and the way that they've decided to go about things.
Yeah, because of the whole discrepancy of what constitutes a short rest, what constitutes a long rest, is now just kind of like it's no longer blurred. It's just like it's straightforward. Like it's a lot easier wording. It's a lot more understandable and manageable for us and them. It's a breath of fresh air, for sure. This is going to be an interesting adventure, especially with the whole first level feats as well. That opens up so many new bills.
They can be repeatable too.
Yeah,
they made sure to put things that are like not all of them. Most of them aren't going to be repeatable.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Make sure but they've added certain things where you like if they feel like certain feats can be repeatable and you can add those feats later on. You can do that.
It's more literally in the text of it versus finding it in the description that it's repeatable instead of like okay now it just says it's repeatable.
I do also dig the fact that they've specified these are the first level feats that you can choose from. I kind of dig them putting things in categories. Speaking of categories, the biggest thing and my favorite thing that they've done is they've encompassed certain instead of going paladins have this and clerics have this.
The spell list, yes.
We now have an
Arcane,
all-encompassed
divine
spell
and
list.
primal. It helps just being able to pick those spells a lot better. Aside from I have to differentiate what's a bard, what's a sorcerer, what's a cleric, it just has them all in a easily readable list.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Divine being paladins and clerics can both choose from this list. Arcane being everything else besides druid and ranger, and then primal being druid and ranger.
Yep, it just
and now
because they basically already shared those spell lists essentially. They all both basically.
But
share
the thing
same
is, ranger's
spell.
limited though.
Exactly.
Because ranger didn't have the same spell list as druid. Druid
No.
still could do more
They
stuff
had-
because
they
they
had
had to feel like they had to differentiate
Exactly.
druid and ranger somehow. But the thing is, I'm already differentiated as a ranger because of the fact that I don't have as many spell options to begin with. I can't choose that many spells to begin with. I don't have any spell slots. I'm not really going to be using my spells because they all suck at this point, besides when I get access to Guardian of Nature at some point. It's already a loss for me. Can you at least give me access to everything else the Druid does?
Please.
Now we're getting to that direction where we're having shared spell lists because the gods should be able to do that anyway. We're gonna have wizards doing warlock stuff, warlocks doing wizard stuff,
Exactly.
bards doing warlock
everything.
stuff, bards doing wizard stuff.
And it makes
It's gonna be so good.
And it makes them feel like they're a jack of all trades, like
Yes.
they're supposed to be. How do you literally call the bard a jack of all trades when its only damaging spell is Dissonant Whisper and Shatter?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's not great.
No. No.
Overall, I love it. I think I think there's so many more positives, and it's going in the right direction more than the couple of humps that we've seen that they have to get over. They're trying to make things D20 tests, which I get.
Yeah.
D20 tests are supposed to encompass everything. They're trying to make sure everything
Exactly.
is encompassed in things, but they have little things like with natural 20s. Everything, if you roll and natural ones, if you roll a natural one on anything, because the D20 test is supposed to encompass everything, right? If you roll a natural
Saving
one,
throws.
you fail. Doesn't
Saving
matter if it's a
throws.
saving throw, it fails. It's encompassing everything.
In-
But with natural
yeah.
20s, they differentiate it differently by saying that, I believe that it's supposed to be. Let's look.
And it's an auto pass as well. For everything as well. So saving throws
It
as
does
well.
it?
Yes, it did.
I thought it was different.
No, it was a dual coin for them.
Let's make sure real quick.
Yeah,
Because
why
I
not?
want to look at this again.
Why not? We have it right in front of us. Why
You
not?
right? I could have interpreted it completely different. Sorry for that little hump. I'm just going to actually look for it real quick. Rolling a 20, regardless of the modifier and inspiration. Yep, you're right. I forgot.
Yeah. So
yeah.
since it's a D, since
But
a D20
it also
test,
says rolling a 20 doesn't bypass limitations on the test, such as range or line of sight, which I understand.
Yeah.
You're right. It's the same thing. They've encompassed everything with the 20s for the rolling a 20.
yeah. So it's just
and then
mostly
natural one with
bypassing penalties. Because if
Yeah.
somehow like we were talking about, I can't even pass that save because it's a 20.
That's a good thing.
Exactly.
I
'cause
do
it's
like
a
that.
21, and I can't do that as my character. I have a negatives. I'm not gonna roll. Don't make me roll, DM. That makes me feel like shit.
Yeah.
Because you're just saying you're gonna.
Well, I
fail.
had. It's like
You know?
it sucks too because as a DM, you're just like.
I know,
have to
but
tell
the
you,
thing
make
is
it
that
sit.
yes, it just feels
The
bad.
unfortunate part is the critical hits only. They're trying to make critical hits in combat only be melee attacks.
Yeah, that's
So,
what. And
the
that's probably what
spells.
you were thinking of.
That's what I was thinking of. I could be. I was mixing them up. So it's supposed to only be spell attacks here. And my ADHD is going heavily by me fidgeting. But that's beyond the point.
Yeah, so D20 rolls crits for only unarmed strikes and weapon attacks. So they took that away for ranged spell attacks. And that means also magical spell attacks as well, because that's also a thing. Magical melee spell attacks are also a thing, too. So that means it's taking away both of those for whatever reason, and that's just benign. So the fact that is also going to be a thing too is just that makes it a whole lot more difficult to even accomplish what you're trying to do as a build or anything like that. But also the clarification on more of the conditions helps so much, and it's something that I've always been using in my campaigns as well. As when you grapple someone, guess what? They have disadvantages on attack rolls and dexterity saving throws, and you have advantage on them because you're grappled. Because it just makes sense. So you should just be able to do it.
Sorry.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I was gonna put that on the floor because I keep fidgeting with it.
There you go.
Yeah. There's so many good things that I do appreciate from this.
Yeah, this
in
rules
general.
glossary looks a lot better than what I'm used to seeing, and that helps out.
The big
So
thing,
much.
another big thing that they're looking to do is background stuff. Instead of the ability points that you get from race being attached to your race, they're trying to they're looking to attach it to background instead, which makes a lot more sense in a lot of different ways, and it looks a little bit more structured and and it looks like it's going to make a lot more sense in general. So they have prerequisites of what you can look at. They have, instead of it having just be like, oh, I am a guard, I get this and this. They have those ready for you, but you don't have to choose them. They prefer you to kind of follow the guidelines that they have of background features, which are you choose your ability scores, you choose your skill proficiencies, you choose a tool proficiency, and you choose a language, and you just stick with that.
And then all the long texts that they had before describing, well, now that you are a criminal, you know a criminal organization, and you have a contact anywhere you go. Now you could just make up stuff a lot easier instead of just like, I don't have
Create
a
your own
criminal
background.
syndicate, but I have like, I do black market dealing.
I think
or
that's
something
good
like
for
that.
like creating backstories too. I think it gets people thinking immediately about, okay, so what's the backstory here, instead of it being like, okay, I have to choose. I'm going to choose from this, and this in order to add some proficiencies to my character, and then I don't think of my backstory.
And
because I
now
don't
it
have
chooses, and now it says, why do you know this stuff? Why do you have the equipment that you do? Because if you're like a acolyte, you get books of prayer, parchment, calligraphy, surprise robes, and a holy symbol. Why would you have that as not a cleric, right? Or not an acolyte, or whatever the case is, right? So now that you can buy whatever you want to buy too, that also says, well, why is your character buying this?
Yeah. I love it. It inspires people. I think it should inspire people to create their own stories, and I think that's the whole point of like when you're working on a character of like, who is this person, right?
Who this dude?
One more thing before we kind of go into a closing moment where we'll probably just look to make a character real quick and be done. One last thing is we have ourselves a very special thing in the middle of the race section where you can mix. They give you an example of how to mix and match, because for a long time people are just like, well, what's this and what's that? They don't have half elf, they don't have half orc in the player's handbook anymore, because we're looking for you to do that.
Yep.
What is a half orc? Or what is a half elf? They had the lines before of like, oh, it's a human and a elf, a human and an orc. That's what it was before. Now we're looking at this one from a broader perspective. PDFs like an orc, an elf,
had a baby.
An elf and orc and had a baby, and a lot of popular things that that became popular on DM's Guild and other sites like that Wizards of the Coast were able to look at and kind of get inspirations from.
Because that's basically player advocacy. That's basically the players and the DMs telling you what they want in their game. That's what DM Guild does. It tells players, hey, I want this type of stuff in my game. So you know what? I'm going to spread it out to the world. This is what I do in my homebrew games.
This is
And-
what I think.
And I'm sharing it with the rest of the world. And now
What do you
Wizards of
want?
the Coast can see it.
Yeah,
They can
exactly.
see what people want.
This is big for me because this is what I love to do anyway. A character that I've been playing recently on Thursdays for a couple of years now at this point, maybe a year and a half, was a half orc and a water genasi. And I was just like, I just want to mix two things together and I'll create a character based off of that. And I just kind of
Literally.
went that. But it's
Literally.
it's where my brain goes immediately when it comes to character design, because I'm mixed already. I'm already half black, half white. I that's just where my brain naturally goes in general when it comes to like what do I want to do with race. I already like doing that kind of stuff. That's just ingrained to who I am as a human being.
Because like when I made Bark and Bean, he's a goblin satyr. He's not a satyr.
It doesn't make
He's not a
sense, but who
goblin.
cares?
No, it is.
You can imagine a weird creature.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that they're including a section where it's not half elf, it's not half orc.
You can be a dragonborn drow.
What can you choose? You can take these traits
Exactly.
from this race and take these traits from this race and kind of do whatever the hell you want with
And
that.
you can literally
and make
custom-
whatever you want.
It's a custom fucking character right there. It's a custom person.
Yeah, it's you creating whatever you want to create in your own unique way. It's not necessarily saying that you can't do that with a halfling or a gnome. It's just saying if you want to do that, we're not just going to establish it being just a half elf or a half orc or anything like that. It's you choosing what you want to choose, and I think that's fantastic. That it's showing the evolution of D&D so quickly.
It can finally be your orc tiefling that you always wanted to be.
Did I want to be?
I don't know. You probably did.
I don't remember that.
No, I'm making that up.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was like, I
Wait,
could have
since
said
when?
that.
Like, I know, right? You
I could have said that at some point. Okay, I think we're getting to the last point of what we're doing. See, I'm fiddling still. It's like my hands want to do something.
I mean, so am I.
half the time.
I've just been twirling this thing around the whole time.
Well, I think there's a little bit of nerves as well. We haven't done this in a long time. I mean,
Also, it just helps you concentrate.
it actually does too. And that's a little that's an ADHD thing for you. It can actually help you.
Because for a little while, like at the beginning, you probably hear a lot of this because that's what I was doing first.
Well, I was doing this. I was literally doing this the entire time I was doing this. Leaning on this at times.
Yeah.
Sometimes accidentally doing this. And then I was fiddling with the damn marker for a long time because I don't know.
It's there.
I have to be focused.
It's there.
Yeah, it's there. My hands want to do something because for some reason my body doesn't want to stay still. Granted, coffee ain't helping, but at the same time, it's not the coffee doing that. It's my brain.
Exactly. It just be like that. It just be like that.
Okay. Well, we'll end this off with character creation. And then I guess we can kind of figure out what we want to do. Yeah, we got to start with the beginning. When we're creating a character, what's the point of this character? Why do they exist? We got to start from one direction and kind of go from how do we create a character and what's our process of doing that?
Well, it usually depends on campaign. Let's make one for Ostera.
For Orstera?
Yeah.
Okay, for my world, technically it's both me and SE's world, but that's beyond the point. It's technically my homebrew world because I've been working on it.
Exactly.
And it's nowhere close to the original, and that's fine.
Exactly.
So, if we're going for Orstera,
What normally populates it? Humans.
Humans typically normally
Elves.
populate it. Elves can
Elves.
exist. Everything's technically there. It's just what is what's populated
majority.
and what's not.
Exactly.
Um,
Warforges are now.
Weirdly, ratkin are a big thing.
Oh, there you go. See, there's that
That's
too.
weird, but it also makes sense why nipples is
Mm-hmm.
a big thing, and wild nipples is able to exist, and
Mm-hmm.
it's because ratkin are everywhere.
There you go.
And they're
Reckons.
weirdly strong at points.
Of course, human
There's humans.
tieflings, because we had that one tiefling civilization that we saved, that we rescued.
Tieflings are a big thing.
We have Owlins, because we have our boy being an Owlin.
Yeah, we have everything's in Orstera, at least in my version of it.
Yeah, lizard folk definitely, because they're literally in the game. There's a bunch of them just in caves.
Yeah, they're just assholes. Yeah.
Fairies exist because Cookie's there, and as well as
Everything.
Yeah,
is.
exactly.
There's not really a thing, but like thinking about exactly what is
More prevalent.
lizard folk are technically savage, or at least they're more savage in my world. At least. No, they're like really bad because they not. This is just core. This is the way my world is. It's not saying that there's necessarily a bad lizard folk. But since we're on that tip right now, we'll just kind of stick with lizard folk and
There you go.
kind of go based off of what creating one that is going against the grain of what my world is, I guess. So typically, lizard folk in my world, they're just savages who are just looking to survive off the land. They don't. It's typical lizard folk stuff, right?
Well, he had Snow. Snow was a smart guy.
I mean, Snow was smart because he
smart guy.
decided to break away from the pact. Snow was completely different in that sense.
And he was wide. He was a wide guy.
Yeah, he was a very big one, so they couldn't really stop him either. They were just like, "Hey, you
Go about your business. Go about your business now.
Whatever. I'm tired."
Snow. Snow.
You, I think Twinkle Toes just followed him because Snow was leaving.
Yeah.
He was like, "This guy protects me. I'm gonna stick with this guy."
Oh yeah, no, that's literally what you are. You're the protection.
Yeah, also the smart one in the group. But I'm looked at as dumb because he speaks broken English. So because he speaks, yeah, you're actually capable. I mean, you sorry, you were able to read the tongue a lot easier. It's not easy for him. Common's hard. So it comes off as he's stupid
Exactly.
because
That's what
he
it matters.
speaks slow with his common. But he's actually really fucking smart when it comes to everything else. So it's funny because the dynamic is, I'm going this way.
No, we're going over
Right.
there. No, we go left, we go
No.
left,
Son.
left. Fuck the sun, I hate it. It always gets in my eye.
Forest bad. Good
No, the
son.
forest is good. It has shelter, trees.
I'm going that way.
Okay, so am I then. Whatever. Well, what's
It's the dynamic of just it's as simple as that.
well? Where do your guys normally grow up? Where is like the typical place for them to grow up?
In the woodlands, they have
Woodlands.
swamps.
Okay, so a swampy lizard probably has a bunch of muck covered him on him all the time.
We'll create a bad guy here. Fuck it.
Oh, we're gonna make it. Okay, there we go.
Let's go and create a bad lizard that he's technically. Let's go with the prodigal son who feels like he has to do daddy's wishes here.
Okay, so we're going how to be a slime?
I guess in
thing?
a way,
literally-
yeah.
That's literally what it was.
So it's the lizard folk that was born
Reincarnated
to
as a slime, yeah. There.
the village chief's son, essentially,
Oh god.
who's looking to prove himself.
Does he wear fancy clothes?
No, lizard folks do not wear fancy clothes. They are savages, or at least
Okay,
in my world.
so he's a bad guy. He's prodigal son. Is he just as savage as the normal like lizard folk?
He has he fits in because he wants to. Let's go with that. He'd say that he fits in because he wants to, but like he has tendencies of wanting to live a more lavish lifestyle.
Okay.
If he's able to take over as village chief because his dad is old. He could be looking to plot against his dad at one point, of maybe finding a way to become the village chief in nefarious ways, or he could just be looking for his dad's approval.
So I could see like a rogue or a bard.
I'm kind of digging the rogue a little bit as well.
Yeah.
The bard's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Bard's always fun though.
Bard,
right?
I say, because charmingness and
Yeah, let's go with that.
suaveness.
Let's go with bard.
Unless, of course, he's just a swashbuckler, which that would.
I like swashbuckler
Yeah.
here. When looking at the lizard folk race from 5th edition at this point, we get a chance between animal handling, nature, perception, stealth, survival. If we're looking to do swashbuckler, we'll go stealth, and we'll go survival for right now.
Mhm.
Class, we'll go with bard, swashbuckler, we'll go 3 levels, just so that we can guarantee ourselves the subclass. I'm not going any further than that. This is more not necessarily about the build. It's more about character development and the way to make a character background that might fit your style. If you want to particularly take what we're coming up with or like talking. This song in particular is very loud.
Yeah,
I like that, and it's perfectly fine. But I'm going to.
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
So, you could take these backgrounds if you want to, and apply them to your own character's builds or character development when it comes with backgrounds. That's mostly what we're focusing on here, and how we come up with stories that can be integrated into the world and to whatever universe that we're talking about here. So, Bard College, we're just going to make it simple. We're going swashbuckler.
Swashbuckler is rogue.
You're right. Because it doesn't apply to colleges, Caleb, you silly fuck. Let's just go rogue swashbuckler.
There you go.
I was thinking rogue anyway, because it's fun.
Rogue.
My bad. We're not even doing Bard here. Exclude what I'm saying. Rogue is acrobatics. We'll get ourselves some perception because he's going to have wisdom because that's I just see lizard folks having that. We'll sleight of hand's fine and
Persuasion?
or deception.
Depends. Is he gonna lie? He is an evil. He is rogue. He is an evil guy. He's
Yeah,
not a
let's
good guy.
let's stick with deception here.
Oh, Daddy, I love you so much.
You're my favorite friend. I like this guy already. Roguish archetype. Well, it's fun to like because the way that we described it, because we just described some good lizard folks. that are essentially that can be described as some heroes are wandering travelers within my world. If we can establish a good person, we should establish a bad guy. And there's nothing wrong with like, okay, we've created a bad guy here. Let's see what we can do on the alternative to counterate the yin and yang, showing and showcasing that you can do anything. Swashbuckler.
You can do anything you're mind with your mind.
In all honesty, that's all we're going to focus on. I'm not even going to tell you what we're going as far as... you know what? Fuck it. We might as well. We'll stick with standard array. We go Tasha's each time because that's what you should be doing. If you have access to Tasha's, use it because it's a fantastic
the new wave.
Resource.
It's a new wave, anyways. I mean, it's literally
Yes.
it's literally the new wave. You got to get used to
So
it.
instead, we're
if you're
going to
playing the
use
new ones.
+2 to dexterity, and we'll go +1 to wisdom. 15 dex. He's not. I mean, he can be seen as more intelligent than other lizard folks. So we'll just go with 13 here. We already give him 14 wisdom. He is a lizard folk anyway. We might as well just stick with the 12. 10 strength. Actually, let's go 14 con, 12 intelligence, 8 charisma. He's actually, you know what?
Charisma, yeah.
We need charisma if we're gonna keep that deception here. So we'll do this. Get rid of that. 14 con, 14 charisma, wisdom, and we'll just make him a weak boy.
Weak boy. I mean, yeah, he can't bully people with his strength, so he bullies them with those smooth words.
Mm-hmm. So what we're doing with this build in particular: 8 strength, 17 dex, constitution is 10, intelligence is 12, wisdom is 14, and charisma is 14. That's adding what we want and how we see this character doing whatever he is doing. And this is where background comes into playing with. It's very easy. I would say noble here, but the thing is that noble swamps aren't really a thing.
I mean, he's chieftain, so I mean, they don't have a chieftain background.
Let's just stick with noble. It's not. He's not necessarily a noble, but like in a noble of the sense of how lizard folks operate.
Exactly.
And we'll just say that he knows a different one of the.
And what would be around orcs?
Let's just say an orc language.
There you go. Gaming set truly doesn't matter.
And these little minor things that we're doing right now are just getting these things out of the way. That way we can get into the big parts, and we can showcase how to use this stuff effectively. Pretty much. View character sheet, we're good. We don't have a name for him. We'll figure out a name soon. So you saw how quickly we were able to come up with a character backstory, background, and understanding of motive. And this comes from the big W's. The who, when, where, what, why. Who? We need to figure out his name.
Well, they name their kids after things that they do consistently. So if they're consistently walking, like mine was Twinkle Toes because he would always stand on his tiptoes. That's why I gave him that name. So something like him would be like Lightfoot, No Step, or something like that, because he's always, whenever he's next to you, you can't hear him. Because you turn around and this fucker's just right behind you, standing, just creeping menacingly. Or Blank Stare, because he's possibly just staring off into the distance, thinking about his next move all the time. Depends on what he's consistently doing. I mean, if we're going traditional lizard folk.
Let's just stick with Shadow.
Shadow.
We'll go with Shadow here.
All right, there you go.
His name will be Shadow because he sticks to the shadows. We're not going complicated with the name here. That's not. I'm not going to overthink the name. So who? Shadow. He is the son of the village chieftain in one of the lizard folk villages. When it is during the same timeline of most of our stereo stuff, so the when actually is not important. Who, when, where?
Already got where.
In the swamps of the woodlands.
Swamp of Woodlands. There we go.
Who, when, where, what?
He's trying to overthrow his dada.
Yep.
Either by getting him killed through assassination. He's probably gathered up a few of the lesser intelligent lizard folk around him who would probably be perfectly fine with knocking him off and putting him as leader in charge at this point, because maybe the guy is he's getting too old and they can't depend on him as much as they used to. So either they are plotting to exile him, get him killed, or wait till he dies, which waiting till he dies is probably going to take a lot longer than the latter.
Mm-hmm.
So half the time he's probably plotting to take over, if anything. And during his adventures, essentially he can have these guys kind of being like a nomadic tribe that are consistently moving in the shadows. That's his organization. If he has a quote-unquote criminal organization or anything like that, being a rogue, that is what it is. It is literally them. Every time you guys go to town or something like that, he's just off sleeping in the forest with those guys. They're patrolling around, hunting, to keep them alive as well and keep them quote unquote happy or something like that.
Who, when, where, what, why? You basically answered why as well.
Mm-hmm.
So both of those, all those questions have been answered, and those are your core things when coming up with character creation. And with that, we've instantly created a character. This character is actually raring and ready to go, just like that. We understand his motive, what his want and desires are, why he's doing what he's doing, why they chose to name him the way he's been named, and the why of why he's doing what he's doing. It's everything. And simple as that, we've created our character for today. It actually didn't take that much time because of the way that we ourselves, this is just based on how we decide to do it. The simple way of creating a story and wondering of how you choose to make it, right? When it comes to characters, we've done it so much at this point that this is just like clockwork to us. But beyond that point, what we did was we thought of, okay, what races were relevant, and it's also figuring out exactly what your DM, or if you are the DM and you're looking to help your players, what is relevant in your world or whatever world that you're playing in and what you're planning on doing, the adventure style, and just explaining that to the players so that they know exactly what they can do to establish what their character's reason for being there and being involved in your current story. That way that they can plop themselves in and you guys can work together in cooperative storytelling.
Yeah, and if something like your DM says, that's too much for me to manage, a whole entire group of thingies on the outside of skirts, you could just say instead of him overthrowing his father right now, he does it later using an item that he needs to find, or not a hero's journey, but a journey that he needs to take in order to become the new chieftain. Something even as simple as that, and that could be at the end of your journey, near the beginning, or something like that. And it could just be more symbolic for your character that now he's ready, and he's always ready to just turn in his chips that he's been plotting this entire time.
I'm sorry. We've done this for a while. We've gotten to the point where we're done. You're exhausted. I'm happy that we're doing this. Excuse me, sorry.
Exactly.
I'm happy that we're doing this. Telemarketers. I'm happy that we're doing this. And Dragon Coffee has been something we've been waiting to revamp for a long time. We'll see how often we're able to do this. At least we're looking to do this, if not weekly, at least bi-weekly. At least bi-weekly of recording these and presenting them in a fashion where you're able to get multiple, if you're looking for little things or like the little segments of our podcast, you'll be able to see them on our YouTube channel, just simply Dragon Coffee. Or if you're looking to just listen to our full-fledged podcast of us talking about things for about a couple hours, then you'll have that available to you as well. Thank you guys for tuning into our revamped version of Dragon Coffee. It's been really fun to do this. And we'll see how this first things go, and maybe we'll evolve into doing different things, talking about different things, or making different segments, maybe shortening some things up, or not. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Thanks for tuning in.